Welcome to episode 2 of the Tradepreneur Show. I'm your host, Patrick Summers, and my co-host, Mike Costa.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
Back again.
Yes, back again.
This is awesome.
Episode 2.
Episode 1 was great. I mean, I think one of the things that we talked about was from our initial Zoom meeting, the immediate chemistry that we had, goofing and scratching and stuff like that. But good to be back here.
Yeah,
good to be back for episode 2.
Good to be back. And if I just want to share, we do have something in common, although you have me beat, and that is our passion for dogs.
Oh my God, I do. Yeah. Okay. My wife sits on the board of a dog rescue where we live, and we currently have 6 dogs at our house, and they're all foster fails, is what they call them technically in the business, where they come to your house and you're supposed to eventually find them their forever home, and they end up living at your forever home. So yeah, we've got 6. You've got 2, 3?
3.
Yeah.
3. The one's kind of a shared ownership. But we got 3, all rescues.
All rescues.
Yeah,
and there's just something special about that dog that kind of looks at you and you look at them and you're like, how can I say no, you can't be part of our
Do you ever feel,
family.
I get a feeling like they have an extra special loyalty to you. Like they know.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's...
the solid you did for them.
Yeah.
Okay. Will they travel with you once you get your jet?
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
you're good with that.
Especially the Belgium. He's
The
like
Belgium-
my protection.
Exactly. He's your security dog.
Yeah.
You mentioned that our first episode that, hey, one of your goals is to you want to own a jet one day. Have you always been like a flight fanatic?
Yeah. So I started flying, commercial as a little kid. When I was 7 years old, I got the little wings. I flew from Philadelphia to Minneapolis to spend the summer with my aunt and uncle and my cousins. And so I've always been flying. And it's weird. I went through a stage where I was like afraid of flying. As much as I've flown, I went through a stage where I was afraid of flying. And I'm past that. And it was weird. I'm like, why now? As much as I've flown.
Yeah.
And to me, I won't get into it now, but it was a deeper dig into what's going on in my life.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, and it was also like I had no control when I'm flying. I always used to say, man, if they could keep the cockpit door open so I could see into the cockpit, that would be fantastic. But now my brother, who's flown jets for 20 years, he says, no, you don't want to see what's going on in the cockpit.
You don't want to see the sausage being made.
But I've always been passionate about flying.
Okay.
To me, it's always fascinated me. I mean, even though it's science.
Yep.
But it's science that almost shouldn't be. When you can see, especially these commercial, what are they, the Globe Trotter or whatever it is, they can fly tanks and troops and everything like that. Like, sure, it's just physics, right? It's lift and thrust and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But it amazes me.
It's not supposed to happen.
It's not supposed to happen. And so then my brother went to Embry-Riddle.
Oh,
right.
okay.
And then he ended up dropping out because it was just like college wasn't his thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then he maxed out credit cards and got his pilot license and did all the stuff you have to do, which to me, pilots these days are kind of like the trades. Because you go to the military, right? Or you can go to a school like Embry-Riddle. But the majority of people come up by getting their private license.
Yep.
Right? Then getting the instrument rating, a commercial, or whatever path it is, and then taking these jobs to get the hours and get the experience to where they finally launch their job. And he had a good friend. She went into the commercial airline industry. He stayed just flying corporate jets. Loved it. And so he kind of, I think, got me even more interested in it. But now I'm just fascinated by flight, and I think that for me, the wanting to have a jet is just one of those things. If in my business life, if I can have a jet, I've reached a certain level of success. So it's more a measure of my success in that field.
I love it. That's so. I married an admiral's daughter, and so he used to be an F-14 pilot in the Navy. And whenever we had traveled with him, whenever we have traveled with him, we don't travel with him anymore, but And I'm kind of a white knuckler when I fly too. You know, a little turbulence, like, oh God, is the oxygen mask going to drop out? But he's always been our barometer. You know, I've always looked over at him, and if he's kind of, you know, passed out in his seat, sleeping, even though we're having what I consider really bad turbulence, then I know life is okay.
Yeah.
And he has always said to me, he goes, you don't know turbulence until you're in an F-14, you know, screaming, and you hit an air wall or something like that. That's turbulence. You talked about AC. Is it Aviate, Communicate, Navigate?
Aviate, Navigate, Communicate.
ANC.
Yeah, and
what? Explain that to me, because several of your employees who I've gotten to know, your partners here in crime, I've heard them talking about that.
Yeah, well, so my fascination with aviation has, for lack of a better term, a dark side, and that is, I am fascinated with studying aircraft disasters, right? So my brother, tons of experience.
We just had the one in South Korea.
Yeah, and I look at that and I'm like, okay, bird strike. Why are the flaps not down? Why is the landing gear not down? Like, there's something else going on there. I think. I mean, I don't know enough about it, but I can have conversations with my brother, and we can talk for hours about different things over a course of a couple of days, because he lives up in Utah, and I watched this. There's an amazing, if you're into any of this, pilot debrief. Former Air Force fighter pilot, does this podcast on YouTube, Pilot Debrief, and they take air disasters, right? Whether it's the single engine Cessna all the way up to commercial airliners, even military, and they'll go through everything. And of course, the reason he does it is to help those who fly, prevent doing the same thing again.
Don't make this mistake.
And so through that and watching his podcast and learning, I actually got one of his shirts that has the Aviate, Navigate, Communicate.
Okay.
What I realized was, or learned, was that you can contribute one of those three factors to some sort of air disaster. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be those three, but those are the three, obviously catastrophic failure of something, but basically you're looking, and one of the things is, like, when you're flying, those are the three tenets. As I'm learning, again, I'm not a pilot, right? I'm just passionate about flying.
We just pretend to be pilots on here on the
and I
Tradepreneur
still have my
Show.
little plastic wings that I wear sometimes. But the three things you've got to do is aviate first. You've got to fly the airplane first, right? And you'll hear pilots, and there was one episode I watched where the guy, he lost his engine, and there was another pilot listening to the communication, and this pilot just said, keep flying that plane, right? Keep flying that plane, meaning aviate, right?
This was the pilot on the ground who was
No, this
listening,
was
or-
another pilot flying in the air
who
heard
okay.
this. And that, there was such a lesson in that episode. And it'll come to me, the term, and I'll share with you. But in the meantime, aviate, fly the plane, navigate. Navigation is pretty simple, right? You got to know where you're going, where the airport is, and communicate. You've got to communicate. And so you see times where the communication's fantastic, right? And the aviation's okay, but they're not navigating. They don't know where they are. They're depending too much on autopilot, right? Or they're not aviating. They're too focused on navigating and maybe communicating, but they're not familiar with the plane like they should be. They're not familiar with, if they're in IFR conditions. They're not familiar enough with that. Or there's one where the poor woman was unfamiliar with some of the instruments on the plane. Happy New Year, Coachella Valley. This is Patrick Summers, President and CEO, General Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Listen, we all know that New Year's resolutions usually don't last, but with proper maintenance and service, your plumbing, electrical, and HVAC system will give you many years of trouble-free service. Give us a call, get it tuned up, get the inspections done. Let's make sure you're good to go all year long. Happy to take care of you. Happy New Year. Let's make this year, 2025, an amazing year. So I've taken that and I've thought a lot about it. Aviate, navigate, communicate. And so I'll say to the team, we've got to do that in business. And I would just, in business, I would say, substitute the aviate for operate, right? You've got to operate the business. You've got to aviate the plane, right? Navigate, obviously, know where you're at and where you're going and what you have to do to get there, right? And so that's a big one. And that's in business. What's the plan? Where are we in relationship to that plan? And what has to change? Do we have to change course, right? And the next one, obviously, communicate. You can go into any business, any relationship, anything, and you could like have closed doors, private discussion and say, what's the number one problem in this relationship? What's the number one problem in this organization? What's communication? There's not enough communication. I will challenge that it's usually not a question of is there enough communication. It's a misunderstanding of what should be communicated and how it should be communicated. Because I've seen organizations where the communication is amazing. Sometimes the expectation is, well, I should know this, this, and this. Yeah. And that the understanding of what should be communicated and stuff is kind of missing. But aviate, navigate, communicate. And in business, I think it applies. And keep in mind, when I say business, this is the Tradepreneur Show. So if you're like, well, I'm not a business guy. I'm driving around in my truck going to the next call, right? Or I'm sitting here listening to you, waiting for my next client to come in to get their hair done. Whatever it is, it applies to you. Because, again, one of my tenets is you have to show up every day like you own the business. And you have to operate like it's your own personal business, because that's how you drive value to your clients, right?
Yep.
To your employer, right? And to yourself. And always keep in mind, when you are a business, guess what? I'm a business owner. I still have to serve my employer, right? Yep. Which is a corporation, which is responsible for making sure everybody gets paid, right? I can never serve myself first. Mm-hmm. And so, again, regardless of where you are, if you're out there and you're just getting into the trades, whatever trade it is, whether you're been in it for a long time and you just want to get better at what you're doing, or you're like, how do I transition from what I'm doing to having my own business? I would say approach everything with aviate, navigate, communicate. Am I aviating? Am I operating? Am I flying the plane? Because if you're not flying the plane, it's all over.
Pretty much. Right.
Navigate. If you don't know where you are, if you don't know the terrain, if you don't know where you're going, you're aviating, guess what? You're going to not have a place to land.
Yeah.
Right? And communicate. You got to communicate to yourself, to each other. Obviously, in aviation, it's communicate to the tower, communicate to the other planes and whoever is out there that can get you the help you need. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm trying to take my passion for flight into how do I apply it to business? What can I learn?
It's a brilliant philosophy. It's one I'm sitting there going, I can't literally, as you're talking, pick up my phone and go aviate, but believe me, when we're done with this episode, I'm going to be typing that into my phone. Good stuff. Good words of wisdom to live by.
Thank you. This is episode 2 of the Tradepreneur Show. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to watch, like, share, comment. All helps. We're going to have many, many episodes. So your participation in helping us be successful is greatly appreciated. I'd like to thank Mike Costa again and the team behind the camera, behind the audio. There's a whole team back there doing a phenomenal job. You can find us wherever you can find streaming, all of the social channels, YouTube, at The Tradepreneur Show.